I want to put two just things that defy logic out there. If you took every human who's trying to ban books and monitored how closely they monitor their kids' screen time, I'm sure there's stuff sneaking through that no librarian would ever in a million years let them see. So the audacity of the mind control of a kid is that it's unachievable. And I'm sure there are some parents better than me whose kids don't have iPads, and to them, God bless. But you cannot control everything a child consumes. So the banning book movement seems wholly political, Basil. And for people that don't have kids in school, I want to explain how it happens and how it manifests. This is in Axios. New rules limiting how teachers can teach Black History Month. The limits would allow teachers to mention that Brooklyn Dodgers infielder Jackie Robinson broke Major League Baseball's color line, but not allow them to discuss why Black players were banned before him. Sharif Al-Mekki, founder and CEO of the Center for Black Educator Development, said teachers may also introduce Malcolm X, but not read his speeches. They can mention Marvin Gaye, but not discuss what's going on, what the lyrics are, or point out Rosewood, Florida, or Tulsa, Oklahoma on maps. Talk about the racial atrocities that occurred there. If you've ever read about Jackie Robinson with a kid, the first thing they want to understand are the Negro Leagues. And the only way you can understand that there's progress, that we're going in the right direction in some of these spaces, is to teach the history. I am confounded as to what the end game is here, Basil.
Yeah, well, these are proxy wars, right? These are the small steps that are part of a larger war against against inclusion, inclusivity. And it's important to zoom out here because schools have historically been centers of cultural, political, moral reproduction. What that means is that throughout our entire history, from before and since public schools have been organized in this country, they've been used for the purpose of nation building. They've been used for the purpose of creating a narrative about the country and the people that are in it. So that when you have some white Americans who will say, you know, we don't want to teach this kind of history, we don't want these kinds of books, what they're doing is trying to preserve the homogeneity of their narrative. And that has, you know, of course, that is completely problematic. And even more so, it may be criminal, hopefully that it is in certain instances, but also it does not reflect what the American ideal is supposed to be. But we clearly know how much goes on here that doesn't reflect that ideology. And so the concern is, and Maya is absolutely right, that organizing is really critical here because there are over 14,000 school districts in this country. And so the ability to have a sort of national fight and pushback against this becomes really difficult. You have some areas that are mayoral controlled. There are other areas that have elected school boards. And so in all of these different districts, we have to find a way to organize to push all of this back. But sadly, as my friend Dr. Robert Harvey, who writes about abolitionist teaching and learning, talks about, you have so many teachers engaged in what they call the hush harbor, which is a term that dates back to slavery. When you have teachers that are outside of their classrooms in environments where they can have conversations away from principals and other authority figures to figure out how they're going to circumvent all of these bans, to be able to get the information to their kids in the way that they feel that they should. We're asking teachers to do so much more than they should just to be able to teach American history. And that's what's so sad and so galling about these bans and about this conversation. But it's a fight that has to be fought at so many levels of government across the country at the same time.